Hi, I'm Mike, owner of the In-Groove in Phoenix, Arizona, and today I'm going to do a quick, just a little bit of a discussion on the two new Eagles one-steps. I've talked about this in a few videos, just briefly mentioned that they were coming, mentioned that I got them, listened to them-ish, but didn't really give them a deep listen. Well, actually, I just finally got done listening to these, and I got to say, first off, I am not an Eagles fan. I don't really like the Eagles. I have some Eagles records, but it's not really a band that I care too much for. So I got these two in, and I thought to myself, well, I'm a huge fan of the mobile fidelity one steps in general. So I thought, let's give them a listen. Let's do a little shootout. When I do shootouts, I typically like to start with the original pressings. And in this case, the self-titled, I have an original West Coast promo. I've got a Japanese pressing. And that's it. And as far as Desperado goes, I've got a West Coast promo, white label promo of that as well. And I also have just like a mint in the shrink original. So this is kind of what I was comparing to. And I got to say, first and foremost, I put these on and they weren't bad sounding. They're decent sounding records. They were recorded really well. And, sonically they hold up. But as I was listening to these records, I thought to myself, man, I don't really like the Eagles. That was kind of permeating in my mind. Good sounding. Thought to myself, I don't really like the Eagles. So, that was that. Then I put the one step on. I threw Desperado on first, and I thought to myself, I'm listening, this sounds really good. Although, and it was weird because as I was listening to those original records, I found myself just thinking to myself, it's okay, but I don't like the Eagles. And the reason I'm mentioning this to you guys is because as I was listening to these records, I didn't really have that thought in my mind like, man, I really don't like the Eagles. I don't want to be listening to this. Both of these titles were actually really, really listenable. This is kind of like a prime example of a record that could sound so good you want to listen to it. And these really were. They were significantly more open. The thing that was the most noticeable between the original and between this, these have a much different sound. These have a modern, fresh sound. The originals had more of a smooshed together sound. The vocals were very, very muffled. I know it's cliche. Many people say, putting that record on was like taking a comforter off of the speakers. And in a way, that's kind of what this was. Now, I won't say all the sound was like that, but it was like that very much so with the vocals. When I listened to those originals, the vocals had a very muffled sound to them, like they were being recorded with, or you were listening to just the vocals with a comforter over your speakers. Now, I didn't get that vibe with the rest of it, but it wasn't as dynamic. There wasn't as much sparkle on, the guitar. I'm always very cognizant of an acoustic guitar because if I'm a poor I'm a poor guitar player, but if you play the guitar, they kind of a nice guitar with a fresh set of strings kind of has a very rich and full sound. Bright, the guitars, all that sounds very fresh. You got that a lot with these one steps. You don't get that with the original, and that's kind of like the most noticeable difference. The guitar was much crisper, tighter. It sounded like a freshly strung instrument. The vocals were a lot more clear, direct, and it wasn't as muffled. But I found myself really digging these albums as far as, they were listenable. Now, do I think I'm going to be listening to these much in the future? No, probably not. But that's just a matter of I've got a ton of records and I'm going to listen to something that's this sound quality that I really dig. And the Eagles, for me, just personal opinion, it's not for me. The Eagles just aren't for me. But if you are an Eagles fan, I mean, these are no-brainer records. These have an unbelievably great sound to them. I think this, for mobile fidelity, they're knocked it out of the park with this. These were not announced really ahead of time. A lot of mobile fidelity titles get announced a year to 2 years in advance of them coming out. These were not announced far in advance at all. These were announced a month ago. Nobody had a clue what was going on. They had already released their 2021 catalog. We kind of knew what was coming out. We knew the Janis Joplin was coming out. We knew the Carole King Tapestry was coming out. We knew what to expect this year. Then out of the blue, press release, boom, we're doing 6 Eagles titles, self-titled and Desperados coming out next month. So this was like, these things were made, right now getting something done at RTI is like a year wait. So these things were made. They were probably sitting there in storage, ready to go, all timed out, ready to go with the announcement. The unique thing about this is, and what is just bizarre, is they are doing 7,500 of these. Now, I don't know what they're going to do for the other 6 titles. They haven't specified, but more than likely the decision was made on these 2 particular titles a long time ago, and these are limited to 7,500. I will say it took a significantly longer time than I would have anticipated them taking to sell out of these. It took a month. At 7,500, I really envisioned these things selling out in a couple of hours. I just truly believe these things would be gone in an instant. They weren't. Part of that was because of the low quantity. They didn't sell. Now, I do have these coming into the store. Don't get me wrong. I don't have enough of them. Normally with the One Step, I'll do a pre-order on the website. I speak to Mobile Fidelity. I have a good idea what's coming. I can order it. I know it's coming. I know how many I can sell. Nobody's ever been disappointed ordering a One Step from me. Everybody's gotten the copy they've ordered. And that's the way I like it. I would hate to disappoint somebody by selling them something I couldn't deliver on, especially on a One Step title when it comes to the fact that these things typically when they get released are twice retail. So with this particular title, I know I'm getting a very small amount. So I didn't even bother to do a pre-order on it. And that's because they kept a good chunk of these in-house. But I will say it is perplexing that it took a month to sell out of these. Now, these are both sold out. If you go on to their site or, these are sold out. Now, you probably will have an opportunity because some stores are going to get some. If it was me and I don't have a copy of this yet, wait, because I'm going to get some into the store. I'm going to sell them. Now, the way I'm going to do this is just kind of probably like I did the Jeff Beck. I'm going to put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook. I'm going to let everybody come into the store who's local, grab themselves a copy of one of these things, and whatever's left over at the end of the night will go on the website. And the reason, and that's probably going to be the case, there's going to be some of these going online as opposed to the Jeff Beck where that was really, they were gobbled up in store right away. But, like I told you guys many times in the past, I always like to take care of the locals just because of 2 reasons. A, they're local. You got to support the community your record store is based in, but also from a financial standpoint, it's much easier to hand a guy this record at the register than to ship it. So, you guys seen the boxes I ship these in. They're heavy-duty boxes. The manpower, boxing, shipping, postage, the whole 9 yards. Obviously, I'm going to try to sell them locally in the store if I can, right? So that's that. But I do not think the next 2 titles are going to be 7,500. If the next 2 titles are 7,500, at the very least, they're going to sell out extremely quick. Because I think right away we're going to see these things start creeping up in value, and people aren't going to want to be left out on that. And despite my personal opinion, like I said, I'm not an Eagles fan. Obviously, I'm probably in the minority there because there are a huge amount of Eagles fans, judging by the fact that a couple of the greatest hits and Hotel California are some of the best-selling albums of all time. So they sell really, really well. So again, I am pleasantly surprised. I will say this, and again, I'm only basing this off of the One Step promo, Japanese copy, and a stock copy. Now, there's probably some more modern reissues, but I got to tell you, the difference between an original of this is just, it's mind-blowing. So if you are an Eagles fan and you want the definitive copy of this, man, more than likely this is the one. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say that. The chances of some random 80s repress or a German copy or another Japanese copy that I don't have just being leaps and bounds better than these older copies, and even being in the same stratosphere of this. You know, been doing this a long time. I've listened to a lot of records, audiophile records, original records. These mobile fidelity one steps are pretty much the last word in the titles that they are. I mean, almost every single one of them is the go-to copy to own. And that is a combination of the way they're made, lower generation, you're taking out 2 steps, you're closer to the master tape, and the fact that these are made on that VR900 super vinyl compound, hands down the quietest vinyl formulation known to man. I mean, that's what these things have going for them. So this is, extremely good sounding. It really, truly is. And because it's so good sounding, I find myself not wanting to smash my head into the wall when I listen to it. So, that's saying something. I really, truly think it's saying something. I know I'm going to take a ton of heat in the comments. People are like, oh, the Eagles are the greatest band ever. And, I'm sure I listen to a ton of stuff that you guys wouldn't like listening to either. But for me, the Eagles are not it. But, yeah. So, again, this is just a little quick update. I do these videos from time to time. Not really a review. I just don't know if I could see myself buying gobs and gobs and gobs of Desperado, do a full-blown, long-form review. Maybe in the future, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it for like Hotel California or like, maybe the best album in their catalog. But for the self-titled, for Desperado, that'd be a tough slog. There's a lot of other records I like to do shootouts for ahead of time. But yeah, check us out online, guys, www.theingroove.com. Until next time.